Hello, hello. Welcome to this episode of Onside Punt. We're heading into the draft to give you an update on what your team did or didn't do and where those players that you had interested in, where they landed. And as always, I'm joined by Kad. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We're getting to the draft a little late, but I kind of like having a step back from it, a bit more perspective on everything that happened that day or those
Yeah,
couple of days.
I'll probably dive into a question later what you actually really think about the draft. But
Okay.
did you catch much of the combine, the
I don't.
sales class of the NFL draft?
No, I don't really watch the combine. I've only kind of in the past few years gotten deep into the draft. The combine, I feel a lot of decisions have been made, and I don't understand really what they're going to find out a little bit extra just on a day that you've got to perform in front of everybody. If they like the guy, my opinion is they're just going to take him anyway. Just assume he gets the pick.
I kind of like the Caleb Williams approach here. It's like, no, I'm not coming. I don't
Yeah,
need to. You've
he's not
seen
throwing.
everything.
Yeah,
You've seen everything. You know what you're getting. I'll only hurt myself by coming. I think it's. I still continue to think it's the thing you go to up your stakes. It's like
exactly.
get seen, get in front of some people and then just up yourself a little bit. So we saw one that probably did that who broke a couple of records, and that was Xavier Worthy, and he obviously smoked it here. He broke a very very old record, and I think he might have jumped a few on the list because of it, Kat.
Well, yeah, he got picked up by a good team, and if that was the difference, then sure. But I think you're right. If you're in a good stead, you don't want to give anyone any reasons to not take you just because of what you did on a single day without defense. So you got to play it smart. It's a tough one though. Did you watch much of it?
I really the beauty of social media now is I didn't have to watch it, so I just caught the reels. It was beautiful. It really just there was one who did catch my old Sam Hartman. Notre
Oh,
Dame. I know we're all
oh.
looking for a sexy pick, but when he popped up on the screen, oi, hello. Jeez, I thought he was going number one after I saw that profile pic. What a stallion he is.
A literal stallion. I think stallion's the best word for it too, because he's got this luscious hair and this thick beard. If you thought Jimmy G is pretty damn attractive, Sam is on another level of Adonis. It just seems
He was
unfair.
he's like the caricature of a draw. Like it's like if you were to draw him, it's like,
Yes,
oh,
yeah.
okay, that's him. But I thought that was the sort of one that took the eye, and then it's like you're like, you kind of lose it the next week after. But Xavier Worthy was the only one that really held on. Obviously, he broke the 40-yard dash record, blitzing it 4:21. That's
Wow.
quick.
Yeah.
That's quick. And he beat the old record by .01, and it was like, oh, he was
Yeah.
good.
You
So
take that. You take it. And he's a wide receiver. So obviously that's where they're looking for a lot of speed, especially with the Dolphins teams, kings of speed. And it's kind of the new metric at the moment.
yeah, and it's like he just if you're looking for pace, you found pace. But
Yeah.
I was talking to you about it, and it's like, but then you got to have pads on, right?
Yeah, you got to add pads on. You also got to, throw some routes in there, stop
And a
starts. Like he'll
helmet.
be quick and a helmet. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'm sure he's still faster than anyone else with his gear on. But at the same time, like the combine isn't battle test conditions. It's just kind of a
it is an
like
odd
car
thing.
show.
I don't think it's like I would not enjoy it. There was a few guys just who kept doing it until they got the time they wanted as well.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what are you showing? What character are you showing here? But it was anyway. We head off to the draft after that. So
We do. We head up to the draft, and draft was hosted in Detroit this year. And homie, like this was a event that used to be in New York, I think, in a small kind of theater. Wasn't that very popular to watch. Only a couple of fans could go if they wanted to. They go to Detroit, who are obviously loving their football team, loving this city, and 775,000 people came over the weekend to watch what is basically a corporate executive read names off cards for people that they mostly, I'm assuming, mostly don't know.
that day one, seeing that crowd, I was also confused. I was like, are we watching the draft or have I missed something here? I had some guests over and I'm like, oh, just to be aware, I'm going to have the draft on. It's pretty boring. It's pretty slow. And then I put the TV coverage on. I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute. This is a party. What
Yeah,
is
I
going
thought
on here?
it was a concert. Like, to put it in perspective, that number, it's 300,000 more people than attended the F1 in Melbourne this year, which is a monster event if you've ever been. I know Homie and I've been together, and it is packed. and it's nearly double the population of like Canberra and the Gold Coast and Newcastle. It's crazy how many people have come out, and they're nowhere near this tiny stage. The stage does not facilitate that many people.
And it was so interesting because they're in one collective spot too. It's not like a festival or an event, a sporting event where they're sort of spread out. They're all just clumped in. And I'm thinking, imagine getting to the bathroom if you're in the middle there. That is not going to be a good day when you're packing that one up. But they came back the next day and the third day and they broke some records. There was big numbers.
Yeah. Well, by the third day, it kind of looked like Trump's inauguration. It was a lot of room for a lot of people, and there was probably about 10% of the crowd was there.
Yeah, that's when you Photoshop the back of the crowd there. Just put that little bit extra there, float them up. It was the biggest event of all time for the first 2 days.
They've done a lot. Honestly, they've done a lot. And we had a couple of Aussies. There was even an Aussie announced for the Chargers later down. So I don't know how we need to get our names in the hat for doing that, because I wasn't aware there was any other fans of the Chargers.
I found you. It was an application. So we will be working on that application this year. I know you're good at writing them. So over to you, Kad. Let's get sorted.
It's the only way to win awards. All right. Shall we dig in to the draft, Hulmy?
We sure should.
It's now, we're going to go through not every player, because there are 32 in the first round and it would take forever and ever and ever. But we have pulled out a couple of players that we think are really worthy of speaking of, and that's not just Xavier worthy. Got the top 10, couple extras we want to get to. But of course, we're going to start, Hulmy, at number 1. Caleb Williams, quarterback, is taken by the Bears. This was not a shock to anybody. We've known this is happening for a long time, because he's been waiting and biding his time to when he wants to come to the draft. But it's always been said that he would go number 1 for years and years. Bit of a divisive player here, Hulmy. Not on the field, but off the field. I wanted to get your opinion straight off the bat on Caleb Williams and kind of this, if you could explain to everyone, I guess, the surrounding noise.
It's a hard one I was sort of I want to be kinder to him, because we're all beaten up on him, and I'm like, what is this? What is this mentality of Australians where we want to see someone at the top just get sort of cut down? I guess we've really got that tall poppy syndrome. But I've got to give an opinion, so I will. And the drama around him is it's his little, how do I describe it?
I think it's a lot to do with his ego. There's a lot of cockiness, and I think I think the tall poppy syndrome is not a bad call there, but there were some things that happened where Caleb's kind of team and camp around him were putting things out and saying they wouldn't go to the draft if the Bears were the number 1 pick, because they don't want the Bears to take him. They'd say things like his dad is very involved in getting him the biggest rookie contract in history, and if no one was going to pay that, then he wasn't going to play for them. They also wanted partial equity in any team drafting him. So there's a lot of demands coming straight out the gate, not kind of playing the game as it's meant to play. And of course, as you said, he wouldn't throw at the NFL Combine, and also refused to do any medical evaluations while he was there, which is a little Aaron Rodgers to me, but that was kind of the drama, I guess.
Yeah, and then there was those little stories that floated around through his college system that just flared up all the time. There was a situation where he was crying in the stands, and I don't know the exact story, but everyone jumps on it and there's miscommunication. You're like, well, what's going on here? And then there was another story where I think he changed colleges. I'm not sure if that's 100% correct, but I'll dive in to make sure it is right. But I believe he changed colleges and wasn't happy. He was sitting behind someone. And it's like, but you moved to a college where there was already someone in the number 1 spot. You've got to sit behind. That's that's a structure of college, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not the senior. You chose to go there. Why are you whinging? And there's these little sort of, people would say red flags. I say red flags, but there's these little attributes that probably go to the edge of arrogance over confidence. I love confidence, but there's a little bit of a feeling of arrogance, which I think I'm not quite comfortable with Caleb Williams.
And when you see, the guys who got drafted at the top last year, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, you saw these guys just speaking, like men. And, you got to remember, these are young kids. They're in their 20s, very early 20s, and they haven't had much adulthood, but those guys present well. And I think I want someone to at least come out and say, I'm going to lead a team instead of star in one. Be that kind of guy. Yes, you are number 1, but don't tell anyone. Don't make it bigger than it already is, because we know that there's a curse. You got to look out for that curse.
I think he's put himself in lights, hasn't he?
Mm.
and it's everyone is now picking the holes out of it. And I think that's the problem with Caleb Williams. You're looking for the negatives. He is quality, but we're
Mm.
all looking at the negatives for him because of his over exuberance in sort of self promotion. Even there was quite he's a good character though, and luckily they've built a team around him already. We'll get into that in our upcoming shows, but they could get, they're trying to do the Texans formula here, and they might have just built enough to get going. And then we're going to watch even harder, aren't we? Because it's like you have to perform. We're giving
Definitely.
you're given what you asked for. Now
Yeah.
perform, and it's
Yeah.
like the expectation is higher than a normal draft pick, I would think.
I agree. I think they're not doing what the Panthers did. We saw how bad that went last year. You basically get the number one pick in the draft, and you don't give them any support. Now he's going into a team that is not perfectly fully formed, but it's so close to being there. And they draft a little bit later. We'll talk about that in who they get to support him. Highly accurate. He's probably the most accurate QB that's come out of college for a long time. He's got amazing game awareness. It's a very big QB draft, but it seems mutually agreed that he's going to be an amazing talent for the Bears.
I do think as well, there's a bit of gamesmanship as well. And I think he might have been like your prime boxer, that kind of personality. Because when he walked out with the number one pick, that sort of visceral sort of...
He didn't walk out, homie. He ran. He fully sprinted.
Yeah, and that visceral sort of like, yeah. And you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Maybe it was, maybe that is just your bravado. Maybe it did. You played the game and you won. And now it's like, okay, I'm here. Now I can get to work. So it's going to be a good watch. But unfortunately for him, the media will be watching just as hard as we will be.
I think the most important thing right now is he seems all in on the Bears. Good, he has to be. So tough.
He has to be. Yeah, and for the Bears fans, they need it as well because they got rid of a half decent quarterback there, so they had some laterals there.
All right, we'll have to see. As with every pick in this draft, we'll have to see. Let's move it on to Jaden Daniels, number 2, a quarterback taken by the Commanders. The rebuild starts now, homie. I guess we've said it a million times for these guys, but they had an exceptional draft. They had 3 picks in round 2 to support this pick. Fun little fact as well. I didn't notice this earlier, but they even got Christian McCaffrey's brother, Luke McCaffrey, at wide receiver in the 3rd round, which is pretty cool. But I guess this rebuild does start with Jaden Daniels at quarterback.
Yeah, and this is I feel sorry for Jaden Daniels, or probably not feel sorry for him, but out of the quarterbacks that got picked up, he's the one with the least amount of coverage I've seen. Yes. He is the one that I'm more curious about as we roll into the season because I didn't get a lot of narrative about him. Obviously, there was a little bit of he's got a funny elbow. I know that's a bit off topic, but there was some funny memes rolling around about him. I'm pretty confident it was him, and they put the little Lion King figure on top of his elbow. Is that weird? It's like looks like
okay.
Yeah.
Looks
so
like
yeah. So there's something to watch there, and he's like, no, my elbow's fine. So that's the only question I saw he had to answer before the draft. But he's one I am super interested in. I really think he could be something here.
Yeah, and I'm trying to fight as well in myself, being like, is it just he's underdog to Caleb? And I'm like, you'll be better. Yeah, it'll prove us all right, Jaden. But, the Commanders are digging themselves out of this giant hole that they've had with quarterbacks. Found this today. They have started over 32 quarterbacks in the past 30 years. How insane is that they've not had a heavy track? And I think one of them, was Kirk Cousins. He played for quite a while. But beyond that, they've been trying to find someone who can at least be the figure point or anchor of this offense. He will likely start. I know they've got Marcus Mariota as their backup, but they've got him there if he needs a little bit more time to develop.
Maybe that's why there isn't much talking because everyone's like, Commanders will get another one next year. So maybe it's like the vortex. It's like, we look forward to Jaden Daniels' second club. That'll be great for him. He'll get going then.
He's going to do really well on the Steelers next year.
Yeah, but it is a funny one. I'd love to see some of his preseason to see how they work with him, because see if they can have instant impact, because he is someone that I'm very interested in as we head into the season.
And this is a club that we've been excited about since last year, knowing the direction that this new ownership is taking. They seem so much more considered, so much more thoughtful. He is only still throwing to Terry McLaurin and Jahan Dotson. To be fair, they've not had the best quarterbacks, as we just told you. But Do you see him hitting the ground running with those two guys at his receiver core?
I don't know with the Commanders. We adopted them as our official team for onside punt, and after that they went down pretty quick. And Sam Howes, he was an odd cat. Like he was doing big yards and a lot of sacks.
I have a lot of hope for him. He'll come back somehow.
Where you reckon he'll pop out somewhere? The little old sprinkler pop up somewhere.
We'll see.
But I just don't know with the Commanders. I think it's going to be a tested in the season type of team because they've had good lists for a little while now and they just underperform consistently. So I can't imagine with an average list that they're going to overperform. So we'll have to wait and see. New coach, new mentality.
New everything.
All right, Kat, I'm going to take us to the number 3 spot here, obviously. And this position was we found out after, was quite popular. A lot of people tried to move up to this number 3 spot. And that's because there was a flavor there that everyone wanted a little bite of. So the Vikings had a crack. The New York Giants had a crack. Neither of them got anywhere. So the Patriots, they take pick number 3 and they get Drake May.
And New England
quarterback,
Patriots.
obviously.
Yeah, quarterback.
1, 2, 3 quarterback, everyone. That's right. 1, 2, 3 quarterback.
And I think everyone, you can't be too confused because the Patriots, I know, they do need everything. But they've started with a quarterback, which is a nice beginning here. Everything is new here as well. We've got a new era for the Patriots. First time since, I think, 99 that Bill Belichick wasn't actually in the war room and he was actually on the Pat McAfee show presenting. Got a new head coach. They've got a new offensive coordinator, new everything, and now a new quarterback. Things I've read on this bloke, Hulmy, I wanted to get your take on this. He was described as a tough quarterback, willing to take a hit, especially when running the ball. One scouting report said he likes to make tough off-platform throws. Now, they compared him to Justin Herbert. But if he's shooting from the hip and willing to take a hit, that sounds a lot more like Josh Allen and me. And it kind of made me nervous because if they're saying he likes, kind of throwing impossible plays, the line between an impossible play and turning the ball over is very thin, especially if you're a rookie.
We talked about red flags. This guy has more than Caleb. I sort of see. It's like I am nervous about this guy. He could be, the best thing to ever walk the face of the earth, or he could be one and done. Like he's got potential. He could be that big yards and big turnovers. That kind of player. And they've rolled him out as a genuine poster boy, and I am yet to see if this is going to work. I am interested.
He did look a lot like Mac Jones.
Physically
walking
it was
down
uncomfortable,
the draft line.
right?
Yeah. And I feel Patriots fans are kind of correcting themselves and not saying this is the next Tom Brady. Like they figured out that they can't say that anymore after saying it about Mac Jones. Drake May, he is now in a quarterback room with Jacoby Brissett. He was signed, and Bailey Zappi is still there as well. I'm seeing conflicting opinions here if May will start behind Jacoby or not. But the Pats head coach, Jared Mayo, did say this week at training camp, and I quote, he has a lot to work on. A lot to work on. So, not that
sharp.
kind of positive.
That's a sharp critique off the bat, isn't it? Yeah. You know, they're the new coach, and it's like, we're all interested to see what flavor, because they've also got a new coach. Isn't that weird?
They've got to know everything. We don't know what the Patriots are or who they are or what's going on there at all.
Because I was only about to make a comment, Bill Belichick won't like that. And then I was like, he's not there. He's not there.
Mate, he didn't like anything on draft day. And if you watch, anytime the Patriots took a pick, in fact, if anytime anyone took a pick, he had to comment on it. And he was just so negative, but it felt especially personal being the Patriots.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. I think we're starting to compare them. You always compare draft years, don't you? Yeah. And there's a definite flavor of this one that we compare to others, and it's like, well, I don't know why we don't roll overly positive, but it's like, let's see. I hope there's something to come out of this group. I really do. All right, let's mix things up now. So we finally see something that isn't a quarterback all the way at number 4, and it's our little old favorites, the Cardinals. I forget they existed before the draft happened. So they've picked up Marvin Harris Jr. at number 4 here, and he is apparently all quality.
Yeah, and being the first wide receiver taken in the draft, the Cardinals not taking a quarterback had their pick of whoever they wanted. Now, obviously, it's a quarterback every year. They're not going to replace Kyler Murray, but the scouting reports get this guy, generational talent. He's actually, his dad, the earlier generation, was a Hall of Famer. in the NFL as well. Cardinals lacking a strong outside receiver. It's a great move, but do you think this moves the dial for them? They've got a kind of partnership now with Kyler and Marvin Harrison. Is this enough to kind of turn the Cardinals, at least, looking into the sun?
I got a theory about this top 10. I just think you take the best player available, and that's all the Cardinals did. I think they've gone, he's the best player, we'll take him. If we've got to trade him later because we're custard, we'll do that too. And I think they've just taken the best player. They'll get him the ball. He's apparently that good. He's gonna be good enough. He'll get big numbers, and then they can do what they need to from there. But I think he's definitely the best quality that was available at that point, and why not grab him?
Yeah, why not grab him early? And I think that's a common style of taking the best available, especially when you don't know what you need, or you need everything effectively, which is the Cardinals have a lot to turn around there. So it's a good start. Get a quarterback wide receiver duo going. I don't know if Kyler outlasts this year. Let's see what happens over there at the Cardinals. But let's move it on to number 5. The big man gets taken. I mean, the big man. All 6'7", 145 kegs. Joe Alt is taken by the Chargers, the own lineman. Don't let the size fool you though, homie, because this guy can move. He's so athletic for a monster.
It was the unsexy pick, but I thought it was sexy. This is how odd was it when you're like, oh, yep, and then he stands up and you're like, oh,
he stands up in his room when he's celebrating, and it
was the land of giants. It was. I'm thinking, get that guy on my team. The only problem is I don't know how they're going to get the ball over the top of him. He's that big. Like that is. I don't know.
He's going to apparently, affect the budget for the Chargers because they're going to have to feed him every week, which is kind of brutal on their side as well. But Jim Harbaugh came out, he kind of said, unsexy pick, but we're thinking of our O-line as offensive weapons. And another thing he said that I really enjoyed was 5 fingers make a fist. And that's what he's talking about, that O-line, is if we have a dominant line.
We talk about people not enjoying draft day. How much did he enjoy draft day?
Jim just
he was singing. He was having a great time. Ringing people, high fiving. There is that odd bit where they celebrate their own pick. Sometimes I get a bit uncomfortable with that. But
yeah, just like a bunch of generally white stale men being like high fiving after picking a name out of a hat.
Yeah, it's like that's the one we wanted. Well, why did you waste 10 minutes then?
Yeah. It's kind of like the Vikings doing it after they made several calls to move up and down and even take Justin Herbert.
That's exactly the play we wanted. That's exactly it. We wanted them to take the play we wanted. But I think I do have the other thing I quite enjoy on draft day is when the fans get upset. And the Chargers fans were not happy about this pick, really. Yeah.
They wanted something, attractive. Maybe the Brock Bowers thing. That's what I was looking forward for.
Or that wide receiver, because there's none left at this time. And they were looking for the sexy pick, but I think this is the sexiest pick you could have got. Yeah, it was the best.
Not biased at all. Yeah. If you do have time, though, go look up for that Packers fan at the draft for when they got their first pick announced. He buries his head in his hands and looks incredibly upset. And the camera holds on him for about a minute and a half. And it's just not a great reflection for poor Green Bay. All right. Let's take a break here and we're going to move on in just a second.
All right, Kat, I'm going to head us back in at number 6. And I think this is a redemption pick for the Giants fans. It's been 5 years after they traded Odell Beckham Jr. New York has not had anything of ability at wide receiver. So then they've gone and jagged Malik Neighbors. Ooh, he looks talented. And I think the fans, for the first time, they can rejoice in the fact that they've got someone to put on the back of their jersey at wide receiver.
Definitely. I think this is the sexy pick, and the Giants have a lot to pull themselves out of their hole, but they can at least be very excited about this. All-time leader in receptions at LSU, where Malik's coming from. He was partnered with Jaden Daniels at the time, funnily enough. Apparently an amazing route runner. He's going to make it tough with the speed as well. Apparently he's just got the wheels to move it. But again, homie, the Giants, they can be excited for a minute, but then they have to remember they've still got Daniel Jones as their quarterback. The Giants have doubled down on him. Maybe it's because they overspent on him and they're trying to see if they can actually get any blood out of that stone. Again, does this turn the dial for the Giants? Do you think they have a little bit more than someone like the Cardinals and this can actually put them on track? Because only 2 seasons ago, they were in the playoffs.
I think both Cardinals and Giants have done it probably the right way for their position. Obviously, they couldn't get up to get anything, obviously, top three quarterback that will start straight away. So why not just run your quarterback that you've got in-house for one more season? And if you flop again, you're back up the top, right? So go again, go get another one. But I think they're doing that. They're just going to run the cap out and then get whatever's left at the end. There'll be some veterans rolling around probably that need a trade as well, and they might be able to boost it that way. But I think it's smart. Get the best player available to you, and then hopefully keep them happy for a season, and then get something of quality the next one if it doesn't work out.
I wondered how many episodes it'd take for us to say a team's tanking. It's early and we've not got past the draft.
That's a good one to see. It's like when they start to turn the corner. It's like, oh, it's turned. It's tank time. And a few might just go there straight away.
That's it. All right, let's move it on to pick number 7. The Titans took J.C. Latham at offensive tackle. Now, I think the Titans were a little bit miffed that the Chargers didn't take Brock Bowers or a wide receiver, as Chargers have many needs, because they wanted Joe Alt, and I think the Titans wanted Big Joe as well. I think they must have stuck to their plans and just said, we're going to take the next best offensive tackle, but it seemed like a bit of a reach here to take Latham this high.
On a reflection of the draft day, this was the most confusing one. Yeah. I can't see the formula that they're going with here. Obviously they wanted Joe Alt and he went, but I don't think you needed to then go and get the second best one. I think you got time knowing that everyone else is moving around and they're basically focusing on quarterbacks and wide receivers. I thought it was strange, but they've got a game plan, and it's been matched in the way they've picked up players as well in the free trade as well. I don't know what they're doing, but I'm kind of looking forward to their review in our upcoming sort of pre-season reviews of the divisions, because they have done some weird stuff this offseason.
It is interesting, and I think that's what makes this pick so strange, because I would have, expected if they couldn't get Joe Alt, that they'd take a wide receiver option. I actually wouldn't have been surprised if they took a quarterback. It'd be less surprising than the Falcons, which we already covered last week. Will Levis is starting for them this season. And as you alluded to, they've pulled in, veteran running backs and veteran wide receivers. No one, on any other team, they've been wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3. And it just seems like a patchwork of a team right now. So I thought they would have gone and gotten a weapon, a star, someone that had some glow on them.
They're genuinely acting like they're in the window and they're just filling a spot.
Yeah.
It's like, we only needed one player. And it's like, do you? Are you sure? Are you sure about that? But they might prove us wrong, but they are confusing me right now.
Yeah, but look, maybe they're thinking the same thing as the Chargers, and they didn't get the player they wanted, but they're trying to at least build some support for Will Levis. Maybe they saw something in him that can continue on next season, but we will see. I think we should move it on, Hulmy.
All right, moving on to we've covered this in our last episode, so jump back there if you want to have a full listen to it, because it was obviously the Falcons making. We thought the Titans were confusing. This was the one that blew up the internet on draft day when the Falcons took a quarterback at number 8, Michael Penix Jr. We all know the controversy now. We've talked about it. We still can't process it properly, but the outcome's going to be in the work, and they got to get to work, because it's going to be a wasted career if not.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting one, but we have covered it in depth. Go check it out, because there's a lot to dig in with that one, and we really enjoyed talking about it. Little update though, Hulmy, from what we talked about last week, is there was a headline on NFL.com that said Kirk is pretty much full go, but if you read the article, he's certainly not full go. He's still going through treatment. He can't take contact, but he is training in line with other players, just non-contact and keeping players away from him. Not fully healed yet, so we'll see what happens with Penix and Kirk when it gets to training. I don't think Penix will be allowed to battle it out, but it'd be interesting to see what comes out.
What a lovely clickbait that is. Pretty much full go.
Yeah, he's pretty much full go, said the coach in NFL.com. Bit misleading there. Come on, guys. Come on. Be, journalistically integral like us,
Yeah, stop making me read things that I don't want to. I wanted to know that he wasn't playing, and then it was going to make sense. All right, back to the Bears here, and they picked up a real beauty here, and that probably shouldn't have slipped this far. obviously we saw the things that happened ahead of it, but Roma Dunze, he dropped to number 9 here. The Bears have gone Caleb Williams and then Roma Dunze. They've basically created a combination straight off the bat here, and fans should be excited by this combination, Cad. This is good.
This isn't just getting a quarterback. It's like a 1-2 punch that you go, like, okay, do you want one of the best quarterbacks or the best quarterback? Okay, and we've got the other best wide receiver. Like, how good's that? Like, that you're going in strong.
It was good. You sort of walked out thinking, Bears, what have you done?
Yeah,
you've actually done what everyone wants you to do. This is great.
I do
television.
think they won the draft. I think the Commanders later on, I think they also did very well. But this one's a great move because Roma Dunze is a great talent already, but he's got an awesome wide receiver room. We alluded to it last week. Got Keenan Allen, veteran of the game. Got DJ Moore. There's so much you could learn from these guys, and I think he's got to be stoked that he's in this team. Like, you've got to be so happy that has come out.
I think the Bears have got to be the happier here, though, because you imagine them sitting there when Joe Alt and then Latham go, and they go, "Wait a minute, they're going to leave us another," and then obviously Penix Jr. And then you're like, wow, we've got this quality. You understand the Chargers, don't understand the Titans, don't understand the Falcons, but to leave that piece left on the table, they must have been stoked.
Yeah. I can't even imagine the scenarios that they must plan for, and then they still get surprised when a great player like that is left to them. Some have said that's kind of similar with the Michael Penix Falcon thing, but they didn't expect him to drop so far, and they thought, while he's here, we may as well get him. Because he is much better, than we think. But anyway, huge for the Bears. They are a really exciting upstart and hopefully avoid the pains of the Panthers last year. Let's go on to another QB that must be smiling ear to ear, which is JJ McCarthy, who got signed at number 10, drafted at number 10 by the Vikings. As you saw with Bryce Young, homie, don't want to land a team, no protection, no weapons. I think JJ McCarthy lands in probably one of the most ideal situations where you go, it's actually good to be drafted late. He has Justin Jefferson as his primary receiver, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson as well. He walks into a team that, if it had Kirk Cousins last year, could have likely have made the playoffs. Like, compared to Drake May at the Patriots, where they basically have to start from the beginning. This is great.
I think these are no pressure, right? These are, they took the player they needed a quarterback. They took a quarterback, the best one left on the table, and he gets to just play with freedom. Right? He gets to play with the best wide receiver in the game for a whole season. And if he can't, what a luxury to have Justin Jefferson still there. We were worried he was going at some point there. It looked like he was going to get traded away, but he still sits there and you get to go throw to him. What a treat.
That's JJ and JJ, which is going to be the new combo for sure. And they've got
Quadre.
Quadre. I like that. They've also got Sam Darnold, who is there. So if he isn't ready yet, that's okay. Because it's the balance of he's got someone good enough to, I guess, hold the fort early, but then not so good that you're not going to see the field in the first year. So good balance. Well done, JJ and the Vikings for getting that pick. Let's move it on. We're going to skip ones here. We're going to go down through the list because that's our top 10. Let's go over to Bo Nix at the Broncos, homie.
I don't get this pick.
You don't get this pick.
I'm still. I tried to prepare some notes for it. I think Broncos. I don't know what you're doing. You better be smarter than me because I don't. We saw so many quarterbacks go earlier. I think it's like it's a record or something. I think we see 12 taken in the top.
Six in the first 12. Yeah.
6 in the first 12 were quarterbacks, and then you're like, oh, surely there's talent left. I don't quite get this because no one's picking a quarterback for a long time after this. So you got time to balance this out. I don't know. They think they got their man, Bo Nix. I'm not sure. I don't really see the talent. I see the talent, but I don't see it at that level to go number, what do we go at? Number 12? Yeah. Give me something, Cad. I got nothing with this.
This is very funny. Maybe we've been spending too much time together. But I wrote in my notes, and I will quote to you. If I'm honest, I really don't know how to mash this one up because I don't really know who the Broncos are or what they are doing at the moment. Sean Payton seems like a bit of a wild card to me at the moment. The Broncos don't really have a rhythm or an identity. It just kind of feels like they're on their third rebuild in 3 years, with coaching changes, quarterback changes. like all these picks, we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Bo Nix was kind of said to be going in the top of the second or around the second round. Have they just taken, gosh, we needed a quarterback, so we just took everything we had? They didn't make any moves to go up or down. It's a strange one. I like Bo Nix. He's on my college team, who he was, in the Oregon Ducks. So best of luck. But, oh God, the Broncos need to know what they're doing before they even get in.
Yeah,
on
it's
the
not a
field.
critique of Bo Nix here at all. He's a good player, but I just don't understand what they were doing on the back of all those picks. It's there was no requirement for them to take a quarterback here. Everyone was going to slide from this point, and obviously, no defensive player has been taken yet. But there is a world of talent you could be grabbing right now.
Cornerback, they could have gotten a ton of talent, but they've gone this way. Jarrett Stidham is their only other recognizable QB in that room. I think we might see him play early this season. It just depends what the Broncos want to do. I like Jarrett Stidham from that few weeks we saw 2 years ago at the Raiders, so maybe it's his time for redemption. But let's go to the other team in the AFC West, Hulmy, where the Raiders have picked up Brock Bowers, the tight end that I wanted for the Chargers, but that's okay. I do enjoy watching the Raiders games despite them being a bit of an enemy of the Chargers. A high receiving tight end, which is really surprising they've taken one because they only took Michael Mayer, their newest tight end, early in the second round last year. So
they took him at 35 overall last year, and Bowers is more versatile as a pass catcher than Mayer, but it could work out in the slot and then the outside receiver as an outright receiver, as an outside receiver. But I'm a little bit, again, there's some confusion there. I guess the difference here is they're taking the best in that position. I think Brock Bowers was the best tight end available. Well done for that.
I think he's one of the best picks available at that point. If you want a receiving talent, and just because he's not a wide receiver, we know every other great team or dynasty has had a great tight end. Not that and you've got to get lucky. There's generational talents. Rob Gronkowski and Kelsey, of course, but it's pretty exciting. People all thought that the Raiders were going to take a quarterback here, though. Obviously, there weren't many left on the board by this point. I didn't know how
they don't need a quarterback. They got the best in the game. Gardner Minshew, gunslinger. He'll be having a great time there. He's got his own merch rolling around the Raiders. Why wouldn't you take two tight ends? Keep it flowing. Yeah. They'll help him. They'll help him a lot.
It just it's still the Raiders to me that I go, I'm excited to see what happens, but it never really gets to the point where what I expected. Maybe Brock Bowers will be amazing. Maybe Devontae Adams will be amazing on the Raiders. Or maybe that's where he'll ruin his career. Who knows?
I guess we get to watch it, don't we? That's the beauty of this.
Nice and up close being a Chargers fan. All right, tell me who we got next.
I'm going to slip this to number 15, and I don't know why I've chosen this because I'm going to butcher this name. Luard.
There was a moment when I was watching the draft with my dad and some of the names come up and we thought, well, if the commissioner is struggling with this, Hulmy's going to have a field day with these. I should
have gone to 16, Brian Murphy the second. I could have got that one nailed, but this one.
Layatu
Latu. That is, so I hope you're unsuccessful, so I don't have to say your name again, but so he was the first offensive player taken in the 2024 NFL draft. UCLA edge rusher, great talent, but we saw a real trend in this opening round. 23 offensive players were taken off the board in the first round. Should the first round just be about offensive players now? Should we just change it? Day one offensive, day two defensive? Because it felt a bit, I know we've got some great talent coming through, but it felt bad that they were sliding so deeply. Like, not a top 10 defensive player. Surely there's some players that deserve to go up there.
Yeah, I think so. But, it is the rhyme and rhythm of the year. And that's, something you got to keep in mind that when it is stacked with one position, though, there's a lot of needs for one position. These less sexy picks, they slide. And it's a shame, but also it's a great opportunity for the teams who did well last season to pick up some good weapons in the middle or end of the first day.
Yeah, but those teams were the successful ones, Kad. That's why we don't like this. Stop it. Get the defensive good players. They win you the premierships, Super Bowl. Sorry.
Get out of here.
Yeah, sorry, it's footy season. I can't help myself. Go the Bombers.
All right, moving it on. I wanted to mention Amarius Mims, taken by the Bengals at number 18. Just an interesting one here, Holmy, where I believe he had 8 college starts before he got signed. Now, keep in mind, these guys, other guys pay for like 3 to 4 seasons. And he's a big fella. He'll be right. Like, I'm sure it's okay. We've had players come in with less experience, but 8 college starts is just something I'm like, I want to keep an eye on that. I want to see how important that is going into this season.
Yeah, it's so interesting, isn't it? Because they're so built on this tape and the combine and all the measuring of all this, and it's like, I played 8 games, get me in there, first rounder.
Yeah, put him in.
And it's like that's where you're like, ooh, how good a talent are you? But how long will you take?
Yes, and I think there's a thing that comes with conditioning and strength and everything like that. So we want to be careful of injury and history like that. But I don't know, the Bengals seem happy with it, so that's okay for them. Move it on, homie. Who we got next?
Well, I got one who wasn't my pick. This is CJ Stroud's pick. So that's why I've gone with this one, Quinnen Mitchell. So things played out for the Eagles here, and he slid down, and Eagles picked up a real talent here at number 22. I was watching CJ. He's got his own little podcast kind of live stream thing. He was dirty that he went to the Eagles. So that was a real moment for me. So now I'm going to keep an eye on him. So thanks, CJ. We've got a real talent here, and so you didn't get him. So he's at the Eagles.
All right, moving it on to all the way down to 28 in the first day, first round. Xavier Worthy. So we mentioned him at the top of the show, and you get down to the end of the first day, homie, less exciting picks are coming through. Some things, that's interesting for the Bucks. Oh, that's interesting for the Packers. Comes down, and the Chiefs get a gun wide receiver. And you go, I think whoever they may have picked, I would have been like, oh, geez, why'd they get him? He's probably good. Like, I've just assumed that they've picked correctly here. Xavier Worthy, tell me about him, homie.
Was this a trade up as well, Kad? Do you remember?
I don't recall. No.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. But obviously, Xavier Worthy breaks the combine 40-yard dash record. He's now going to be teamed up with free agency addition Marquez Hollywood Brown. Yes, that's right. So we watched them go and put quality speed wide receivers into a team that plays well in the playoffs. God damn it, Chiefs. Why do you do this to us? How dirty was it to get to the end of day one and realize they've done it again? They've got that talent that suits them to a T, and now we've got to watch out for this character.
And that's kind of also how I felt about the 49ers because, I don't know much about their pick, which you can talk on, but I was kind of thinking, these guys always do pick a good team. They're the team that end up having the most talent somehow. I don't know who this guy is, but I have a better odds in my head that he's a bit of a gun.
I think everyone, like you were sort of like Xavier Worthy, and then you had this flashback to, I know that name.
Yeah.
Oh,
crap.
He's that fast one. He broke the record. How dare you do this? And Andy Reid's just smirking. He's got that beautiful little
stroking
smile.
His mustache.
Yeah, just like, oh, we meant that again. Damn you, Chiefs, damn you. But well played. You got him.
The first round done and dusted, and long one in there. But we know very well that there's talent that goes in the other rounds, even though they're not as talked about. Especially, some teams picking straight away a gun wide receiver. And the Bills did just that at the first pick of the second round. Can you tell us about Keon Coleman?
Well, I can't tell you too much about his playing credentials, but he has been blowing up social media ever since. He had the best draft day interview out of all. And he was wearing this yellow jacket, blazer, puffer jacket. And he's just gone viral off the back of it. It was a great clip. And now they've sort of they're really running him as their poster boy. So they've done a little doco on him and everything, going to the club and stuff. He is hilarious and I love everything about him. So I'm hoping he's good because I want him to hang around because it was a lot of fun. But that was my pick up there, Kad. Have you got anyone?
I did want to talk about Jonathan Brooks being the first running back to be taken in the draft because we didn't get to see one the whole of round one, which is a bit disappointing. And, it's our favorite position. I think we've mutually discussed that. So Jonathan Brooks, just want to keep an eye out on him. I believe he's with the Panthers, homie.
Yeah, he was taken at overall 46 in the second round. God, they slipped, didn't they? They've got no value anymore. If you're growing up to play NFL, probably don't look at running back at the moment. We really need a change there. But if you do, well, me and Cad will love you. So
Yeah.
we'll
Feels
love
on
you
same
all the
part.
way. But there was a little stretch. It really worked in pockets this draft, and once he took one, it started to move a few others. And yeah, I really hope he's a good talent. I can't wait to see him at the Panthers.
I do have two names I want to put on the record. So if they do become good talents, I can come back to this one day and tell everyone I was right, and they can forget the context of the episode. But I want to check out Roman Wilson from the Steelers, a wide receiver that they took, I believe, in the third, and Cornelius Johnson as well for the Chargers, and even Brendan Rice, I think, as well, who the Chargers took. I think there's some good odds there where they've fallen deep because of how stacked that first round was with offensive tackles and quarterbacks and the top wide receivers. I think they could actually, land it in good teams, and they've got some good quarterbacks behind them. So I'm going to want to keep an eye on them as we go through.
I thought Brendan Rice was my story of the NFL. You normally get a good story where that flows through.
Mm.
Well, this ain't a good story, but he got picked up. He was at the airport coming back from his mate's funeral, like his best mate's funeral, and it was so he was sitting at the airport in Dallas, I think it was, at the airport, and he got the call that he was getting drafted, and it was quite emotional. If you can catch a clip, it's worth watching because it was it teared me up, kid. It was a moment.
Got the heartstrings going. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it was just that sort of crossing that moment in life, and he was just transitioning from a real tragedy to now that positive, and it was I hope to see a lot from him. Obviously, he's a son of a gun as well. So
yeah, he is. Jerry Rice, who the vets will all know, great player, and so I know that Jerry Rice was out in the media, and he said he was pretty disappointed that Brendan had slid so far, but called landing at the Chargers a blessing in disguise. So I don't know.
He might get game time. That's the beauty of it, being at the Chargers.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They need wide receivers, and they've got one. So it's all out there for him to have a crack and play with probably the best quarterback in the NFL, Justin Herbert.
All right, Cad. So that's sort of it's a bit of a rundown of the draft. Obviously, we'll get into more depth to understand where these players fit into these rosters and the understanding of where they're going to be. But give me your overall thoughts on the actual draft.
My thoughts on the draft in general.
Yeah, in general.
I'm not the most, I guess, positive person about the draft, and I think there's a lot of landfill. So despite everything we've said today, in all the information you can take in reading scouting reports and watching pundits review each decision or listening to two blokes in Australia try to make sense of it all, only some of it matters. And the real trick there is no one knows what that part is. They don't know it yet. We don't know who's good, who's bad. We don't know who's good will end up on a bad team. We don't know who's bad will end up with good players that makes them look better. It's all just a mess to me, homie, because the draft is inconsistent and it's well documented. You and I talk about this all the time. Puka Nacua, we talked about this a lot. 5th round, 177th overall last year. Here's the pre-draft reports. Below average route running skills. He's too clunky. He's more of a hybrid gadget player than a legitimate wide receiver. Obviously, we know what happened last year. He ranked 4th in the league for receiving yards behind Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Do you want to know? I actually did a little bit of research on that group, the wide receivers, to see. I was curious. I'm like, what number did they come in at? Yeah. So the top 5 wide receivers of last year. Number 5, AJ Brown, 51st overall.
Wow.
In the draft. Puka Nacua, obviously 177, as you said.
Yep.
Amon St. Brown, 112.
Wow.
CeeDee Lamb, 17. All right.
Yeah.
Buck the trend.
But CeeDee Lamb's one was interesting because I looked this up. In the 2020 draft when he was taken, Jerry Jeudy, who is a fine wide receiver, I guess, and Henry Ruggs, who's now in prison, they were both drafted ahead of CeeDee Lamb and Justin Jefferson and Brandon Ayuk that year. It's just insane.
And then Tyreek Hill.
And then
number one and then Tyreek Hill, the number 1 wide receiver in the game last year, was taken at 165th.
Jesus, it's just not said enough. It's just blown out of the water. And this isn't just wide receivers, guys. Like Jason Kelsey, 6th round, 191st overall. Pre-draft reports, I really like this one, Holly. I thought you'd enjoy this. So first one, struggled to find his target, doesn't possess much growth potential. And my favorite, Kelsey has the mobility and mentality to make it as a reserve in the NFL, however, does not have the size or power to project as a starter. He's now retired as a 5-time first All Pro selection. He's 13 years in his career, Super Bowl winner. He never missed a game from 2014 to 2023. Like, there's just so many more. Like Richard Sherman, 5th round, Terrell Davis, 6th round, Antonio Brown, 6th round. If you read Antonio Brown's report, doesn't say any insight to how good he was going to be as a player, or that he was a complete psycho and was going to walk off the field with his shirt off and then become a monster on Twitter. Just no information here that's going to help any teams out.
It is. I always think trying to measure players, because the college system to me is also, I think there's a big step. I personally think there's a big step up into NFL. I don't think it's as, Australian sports, these kids are older. Like they're quite older, quite a bit older. They're not like AFL, even NRL a little bit, but you know how they sort of come in and they're protected by the team.
Yeah.
You're going in to start.
Yeah.
You're going into play at this level without protection.
Against humans that are far bigger than the ones you were versing. The speed and size is just different.
And players that have been, this is their 3rd contract. They've been in the system for 10 years.
Yeah.
Like you're nothing to them. They know the ins and outs of it. They look across and you say, I'm not going to learn your name because I won't see you in 3 years. I'm not going to bother. And I just think to myself, I like the draft day I love seeing people fulfilling their dream. I solely love it for that moment. I love seeing them when they crossed and their families, like the room's full of people and they're celebrating, crying. They're hugging their mum, telling them, I've made it. Thanks for your hard work to get me to this point. I've fulfilled my potential. But in terms of how that projects them to be the next level, players get found when they go to the next level, and some players embrace going to the next level. And I don't think you can really test them until it's in front of them.
I just think it's, the certainty that goes around as well when everyone's like, this guy is the best. This guy is not the best. There's no room for, I don't know, we're not sure. And to be fair, there is a trillion factors that will determine if that player will be successful or not. Some are external to the league and many are internal to their team and who they're with. This is the best system they've got. I understand that, but stop putting authority behind it. Like, I love finding out these players' names, and that's why we tell you about those wide receivers that were taken late. So it's so you can go down, look at the 2nd round, look at the 3rd round and who your team got. Get excited because it's a lottery at the end of the day, and you might have a winning ticket in who you've picked up this year.
I love the lottery factor. Yeah. I like hunting for the player that I'm like, well, what would be the name? Like, what's the name that pops up? What is that name that's gonna? Who's my Puka Nakua of this season? Who's my Tom Brady of forever?
Yeah.
He was nothing as well. He was not.
Yeah,
he was not a talent at all.
165th, I think overall. Maybe I could be wrong there, but yeah, he's also generational. Let's be real.
It's an odd one, but it's they're all looking for it to happen again. It's a genuine lottery. We put so much pressure on these players to perform. We buy their jersey. We expect them to be a generational player, but we're getting boys to play a man's game. And some will fall away. Some will get injured. Some will not get that opportunity. But I really hope, Torpoppy syndrome aside, I hope for success. I hope they all have success.
Caleb Williams aside.
Yeah. I really hope you go well, Caleb Williams, because it would be amazing to see that confidence show into the performance. But unfortunately, I'm going to be watching with both lenses, and let's see. No rookie errors either, because I will judge you on that one.
I think that's the best part about this whole draft is sitting with your mate or my dad or whatever, and you go, hypotheticals. You're just talking football hypotheticals for hours. Oh, what if they took this other quarterback? What if they took this other receiver? And that's the best thing you can do as mates who enjoy sport is just talk about what could have been.
Yep. So if you've got a take on the draft, send it to us too.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll bring it in the next episode. Send it to us. If you got someone, how dare you overlook this one, homie? You're an idiot. Send it to me. I don't mind. I'll have a lovely look at it. And if I missed a clip, send it to us. We'll have a look. I appreciate it.
Everyone write in and call Hulmy an idiot. That would be excellent. So we really appreciate fan participation.
Yeah, but don't worry, I got the Caleb Williams confidence, so you can't bring me down.
All right, this has been a hugely packed episode for the draft. We didn't get to everybody, but you will hear about them as they play. And as we go into the team recaps that are coming up in just a couple of weeks, hope you enjoyed it, everybody. We'll catch you next week.
Bye now.
See you, Hulmy. Bye.
Oh, see you, Kad.